I still don't know who, or what, was walking through the halls that day, but I know it wasn't supposed to be there. It happened 3 years ago, when I was a senior at a public high school in Ohio. It was a normal Thursday morning, cold, gray, the kind where everyone just wants the weekend to come faster. The bell had just rung for third period when the loudspeaker crackled. This is a lockdown. I repeat, this is a lockdown. Teachers, lock your doors immediately. At first, everyone thought it was a drill. We'd had plenty of those. But something about the tone of the principal's voice, it wasn't rehearsed. It sounded shaky. And that's when the first scream echoed down the hallway. Our teacher, Mrs. Heller, didn't waste time. She flipped the lights off, locked the door, and motioned for us to get down behind the desks. You could hear the faint metallic click of the lock, and then, nothing. Just the sound of everyone breathing. We stayed quiet. Someone whispered, "Is it a shooter?" No one answered. After a minute, the intercom buzzed again, but this time, there was only static. It went on for way too long before cutting out. Then, faintly, from somewhere outside the door, we heard heavy footsteps. Slow, dragging, like boots on tile. The sound stopped right outside our classroom. Mrs. Heller gestured for us to stay still. Even the class clown was pale and silent. I remember how the floor felt cold against my hands, and how every tiny sound, someone's breath, a shoe squeak, sounded deafening. The footsteps started again, moving past our door. Then, we heard another door rattle down the hall, someone trying the handle. Then another. One of the girls started quietly crying. Then, from the hallway, a man's voice said something. It was too muffled to make out. Maybe he was saying help. But the tone, it wasn't panicked. It was calm, almost rehearsed. Mrs. Heller slowly crept toward the door's little rectangular window, the one covered with black paper for drills. She bent slightly, peeking from the corner. Then she froze. I'll never forget her face. Her eyes widened, like she recognized whoever was out there. But then her expression changed to confusion. She mouthed something to herself. She didn't tell us what she saw. She just backed away from the door, whispering, "Stay down." The voice in the hall called again. This time, clear. "It's Officer Ryan. Everything's fine. You can open the door." Except Officer Ryan wasn't there that day. I knew that because he was my uncle, and he'd called in sick that morning. Mrs. Heller's breathing turned quick and shallow. She didn't move toward the door. Nobody did. Then came the sound of keys jingling. Someone was trying to unlock our door from the outside. I remember how slow it all felt. The lock clicking back and forth. The doorknob twisting slightly, like whoever it was didn't have the right key, but kept trying. Then bang. The handle jerked violently, like it was being kicked. Everyone flinched. A few kids whimpered. I pressed my hand against the cold tile and prayed whoever it was would move on. After a few seconds, the noise stopped, and that's when my phone buzzed. I looked down. It was a message from the school's alert system. Law enforcement on site. Stay locked down. Suspect not yet apprehended. Whoever was out there wasn't a cop. Minutes passed like hours. It was dead silent again, until we heard something else. A faint tapping sound on the window at the back of the classroom. We all turned toward it. The blinds were half drawn, and through the gap, I saw a face. Just for a second. It wasn't anyone from our class. The skin was waxy and colorless, like a statue left in the rain. The mouth was a dark, slack oval, and the eyes, they didn't blink. They just stared, vacant and fixed on nothing and everything at once. Then the face dropped out of view. Someone gasped. Mrs. Heller slowly crept to the window, but didn't lift the blinds. She whispered to me, "Call 911. I tried, but the signal wouldn't go through. Just emergency failure tone. That's when the door handle moved again. A voice shouted from the hallway. This time multiple voices, commanding and sharp. "Police, open the door." We all froze. Was it really them? Mrs. Heller hesitated. She yelled back, "Badge under the door." There was a pause. Then a metallic badge slid under the door. She unlocked it slowly, opening just a few inches. 3 officers rushed in, rifles up. They told us to keep our heads down and move to the gym. As we were being escorted out, I looked back down the hall. The doors of 2 classrooms were wide open, splintered, and on the floor between them, there was a janitor's cart tipped over. The hallway lights flickered, and I thought I saw something move at the far end. But when I blinked, it was gone. We spent the next 2 hours in the gym. Nobody knew what was happening. Teachers whispered, police came and went, and some students were crying quietly. When the all-clear was finally given, they let us leave one by one with our parents. That night, the The news said police never found the suspect. No one was injured, but 2 classroom doors showed forced entry. The weirdest part? Security footage from our hallway had corrupted right before the lockdown began. The timestamp froze at 10:17 a.m., the exact minute the intercom cut out. A week later, I went back to school to grab some stuff from my locker. The halls were empty, quiet. As I walked past our classroom, I noticed the window blinds were still half open, the same as that day. Out of curiosity, I looked through the glass. And that's when I saw it. On the inside of the glass, at a height no student could have reached, was a handprint. It wasn't greasy. It was etched into the dust that had gathered on the windowsill, as if it had been there for days, maybe weeks. The print was small, like a child's, and just below it, swept clean in the dust, was a single, stark word: stay. I still dream about that face in the window, and every time I do, it's closer. So if your school ever goes into lockdown, and you hear someone outside say, "It's all clear, don't move," because sometimes the thing in the hall isn't trying to get out, it's trying to get in. It happened last year, exam week. The lockdown alarm blared right before lunch, one long, continuous tone. Teachers yelled for students to get inside. I ran into the science lab with a few others. We shoved tables against the door, killed the lights, and waited. Someone whispered they saw a man in the hallway, tall, wearing a hoodie, carrying a backpack. Another said it had to be a prank. Then, about 30 minutes in, we heard humming. A soft, slow tune, echoing down the hall. It grew louder, closer, until it stopped, right outside our door. You could see shadows under the frame. Feet, standing perfectly still. Then came the knock. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. No one breathed. Even the air felt frozen. After that, silence. We stayed that way for what felt like hours until the police finally broke in. They said something that made the whole room go still. They never got a call from our school. No one in the office triggered a lockdown. They checked every hallway, empty. But outside our door, written in chalk, were the words, "Thanks for hiding with me." They called it a prank. But the next night, the security system caught motion again. One by one, the lockdown lights began flashing in that same hallway until they went dark. The janitor quit the next morning. All he said was, "Someone keeps pulling the alarm. But when I get there, there's no one." He looked at me, eyes wide. You ever think maybe it's not trying to get out? Maybe it's trying to get back in. The clock ticked past 1:47 on a rainy Thursday in October. The entire senior class of room 214 was practically comatose. Then the intercom buzzed, sharp and static, cutting through the drizzle. "Attention students, this is not a drill. Lockdown immediately." At first, we laughed. We'd just had a lockdown drill that Monday. But Mrs. Clayton went pale. She rushed to the door, slammed it shut, killed the lights. Her hands shook as she whispered for us to get down. The rain tapped softly on the windows. Then the intercom crackled again. Only this time, it wasn't the principal's voice. It was a man's, flat, distant, like it was coming from far down a hallway. "They're already inside." Someone let out a nervous laugh that died instantly. Mrs. Clayton tried the office phone, deadline. A metallic crash echoed from down the hall. Then heavy footsteps. The intercom crackled once more. Room 214. Found them. A cold void opened in my chest. We were in room 214. Mrs. Clayton mouthed quiet, and we ducked behind desks. The footsteps grew louder, slow, deliberate, stopping right outside our door. The knob turned once, twice, then stopped. Silence. A few seconds later, the intercom clicked on again. This time, it was Principal Davis's voice, but it was too calm, too smooth. "Attention staff and students, please disregard the previous message. There is no active lockdown. You may resume normal activities." The relief in the room was palpable. Desks scraped as people started to get up. "Sit down." Mrs. Clayton's voice was a razor blade. She hadn't moved. Her wide, unblinking eyes were fixed on the wall phone. She just stared at the wall phone. Then, slowly, she pointed a trembling finger. Our eyes followed. There, snaking down the wall from the intercom speaker, was the power cable. Its plug lay on the floor, cleanly detached from the socket. It had been unplugged all along. It happened when I was a freshman. We were halfway through PE, just another sweaty afternoon, when the alarm started blaring. That sound, it wasn't like the usual drill tone. It was higher, sharper, like a scream echoing through the speakers. Coach Miller didn't even hesitate. He shouted for everyone to get into the equipment room. Now, we piled in, 20 confused, sweaty kids, and he slammed the door behind us. The lights went off, and the world turned black. At first, we joked. Someone whispered that it was just a drill. But when we checked our phones, nothing. No district alert. No emergency text. Not even a test email. Coach frowned. His voice dropped to a whisper. That's not right. Minutes crawled by. The air in that room got heavy, hot, sticky, claustrophobic. You could hear people breathing, someone quietly crying. Then a sound, a slow, scraping noise from the hallway, like metal being dragged across the floor. Coach raised a finger to his lips. The sound stopped. Then footsteps. Slow, getting closer. A pause. And then tapping. Metal tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Someone whispered, "Is that the police?" No one answered. Then came a woman's voice. Soft, calm, almost gentle. "You can come out now. It's safe." Coach took a slow step toward the door, peered through the crack, and froze. I'll never forget the look on his face. He just whispered, "No." Then he slammed the door shut and backed away. Something hit the door hard. The whole frame shuddered. We all screamed. And then silence. We waited. 10 minutes. 20. Maybe an hour. Finally, Coach opened the door. The hallway was empty, but every classroom door had been propped open. Every single one. And written on each door, in thick black marker, were 2 words: "Found you." Later that day, the principal said there had been no lockdown. They reviewed the security cameras. Everything looked normal, except for one frame. A single, blurry figure standing barefoot outside the gym. They enhanced the image the next day. The figure was standing exactly where the coach had been looking through the crack.